Testing 1, 2. Is it April?
Good
This is
afternoon,
April.
Calvin. Yes,
Good
I can hear
afternoon.
you. Afternoon.
Yes.
Miss Saveharem, you clear?
Me too, me have you clear good.
Ah, no kata chainsaw noise lo background. Do you
No
know?
explore, no explosive what na mo stop behind the you.
I wish. You wish when you wish.
Full up law, the latest finish law EDPS111, so
Yes,
coming.
you understand. You understand. Just slowly, Bali come in. I can wait.
Yes, slowly now, yeah, 16 so far. And the time by some 30.
Okay. So it gives me time to plus that take my attendance from me, right?
Yeah, now.
So we got Caroline, we got Imu, we got Selwyn. Selwyn, suppose you have a meal of not, who by can you train in you play share and screen or no? Good afternoon, all students. We like train finish. Suppose we get more than one student is that join in to indicate. For example, last week you may got people sharing from Manua, from Villanot, from Central School. So suppose you got somebody else and we start with them, you indicate from you Mr. Karem registration. So you could you may take note of people who will start share.
Okay, good afternoon. We share one screen. Belinda Calories with them, Evelyn Joel, Manua School.
Belinda and welcome, Evelyn, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mrs. April.
Yes.
Mielo Kamal Mawa, Liza Watamanchela is the screen.
Liza and Angela, good afternoon, Leituvala, and welcome from Pentecost.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Morris. This is Kawenu team.
All four of us are here, Pamina, Clemo, and Annette. Thank you.
Selma, Pamina, Clemo, and Annette.
Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas. You have a good supporting team. Any more?
Good afternoon, Mrs. Morris.
Yes.
Villanot School, me with them, Pamela. Thank you.
This is Agnes and Pamela, right?
Yes.
And where is Selwyn and Lona?
Okay. They're down in another classroom, sharing one device.
Selwyn and Lona sharing,
Lona
right?
and Sheila.
Ah, yeah, Sheila. Okay.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Morris. Central
Diane.
School, me from the Central School staff with them regional or seaside school in Mivala.
So you have Diane, Linton, Daniel, sorry, Alpet.
Yes.
Alpet, Elma.
Elma and
with you?
Regina. Yes.
Regina. Okay, welcome. Imo, I've seen your chat. Thank you for joining by yourself from Tele. I hope you're sitting by the beach. Okay, anywhere else? Matlen Loma, where are you joining from? From AP or you still stranded in Pila? Okay.
Hi, this is Ratap School.
Ratap, yes.
Me and Marie Claude.
Okay, what's your name? What's your name?
Mata.
Your Mata.
Yes.
Okay, so we finally see the Piti Mata and Marie. Marie tau?
Yes.
Marie Claude.
Yes, Marie Claude.
Marie. Just follow us in English and bear with us. You're right, Leo. And where's Caroline?
House Plehem.
Sama house Plehem, and she's connecting from the house. Oh, okay, who is Galaxy A12?
That's me. What is this?
Okay, you Savetalen Embleo?
Good afternoon, Mrs. April. This is me, Miriam, and Linda Paul.
Oh, Miriam. Miriam from Etas, right?
Yeah.
Miriam?
Me and Linda from Manua. We are sharing the same screen.
Miriam Pule.
Yes.
And Glenda
Toy.
Toy.
Yeah.
Okay. Glenda is still on maternity, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any more? Loma, where you training?
Afraid you unmute.
Okay, I'm unmuting somebody, and I'm muting. Why me wait for another 3 minutes after you make one start. Welcome, Alan from Akam Island, if I'm correct. Alan?
Yes. Thank you, Atom Alan.
Welcome, Alan. Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome, Alan.
Ano full video ko na eh. Ano taong full video sai.
Okay, somebody is answering his phone. Can you mute yourself when you're answering a phone call? Right, before you may make a one start, suppose we may not been welcoming you or phone blue you still start setting blow name blow phone blue number, for example, Galaxy A12, whatever, please you indicate the name blue you from start the game attendance low session blue here. So far, if I'm correct, we have Daniel Steele, we have Songi from Daniel Steele from Notefate, Songi from Tongoa, Caroline somewhere in Eratap, we have Imo from Pele, Selwyn, Lorna, Sheila, Pamela, and Agnes at Villanot. We have Belinda and Evelyn from Manuel School. We have Liza and Angela from Pentecost. Thelma, Pamina, Clement, Annette from Kawenu. Diane, Lyndon, Albert, Elma, and Regina at Central School. We have Martha and Mera. No, we have Martha from Eratap. And we also have Maritao, a French colleague, joining here as well. We also have who else? Miriam and Glenda Toy joining, and we have Alan from Akam Island, Malakula. So if you are joining with your device name, please indicate either by typing, I will see your chat, or you can unmute yourself and let me know.
Hi everyone, I'm joining. Deborah, I'm joining here from Potila.
Who am I talking to? Sorry.
Deborah.
Okay, so we have
I'm
Deborah
still here.
and okay, we have Deborah. Who else?
I'm Linus. I'm joining you.
Okay, Lingus. So that makes about almost how many people we have? 26, 27, 28. Neti is indicating that she's also training as well. Neti, are you training us from Ifira? Okay, probably she can hear me, but she's indicating that she's listening in as well. Anyone else? Galaxy J2 Core.
I'm Charity in Woodville. Charity in
Okay,
Woodville.
welcome, Charity. Okay, Charity, I can see you. Yes, we also have
Yalima from Villanot.
Yalima, welcome.
Thank you.
There's a name here. Silas Umau. And I'm apologizing in advance if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Silas Umau. Silas? Is it Silas or is it Umau? Okay, Umau, welcome. Kamestia, welcome. We have Kamestia. So there's about 28 people joining, but behind the scene we have about 35, 36 students.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Sifrel. I'm Jane at PLMS Primary School in Vanuatu.
Sorry, what's PLMS?
Jane.
Welcome, Jane. Okay, Jane Mary, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Jane, for joining us all the way from Torpa. Anyone else from Tafea joining us this afternoon? Umau, where are you stationed? Umau, can you hear me or am I not pronouncing your name right? Kalsin, could you show us who is CU on the screen? It's visible, but I can see him.
Mambrem.
Oh,
From Mambrem, Uro Primary School.
so how do you pronounce your name?
Silas.
Silas Umau. Umau? Thank you, Silas, for joining. I think we have enough people to make a start. There's about 40 of us. One in waiting room. Is everybody ready?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we're ready.
Okay. Fine.
Yes, we are ready.
If you are ready, let's make a start. Right. Good afternoon to each and every one of you from wherever you are listening from. You're tuning in. Welcome to week 3. For those of us who just recently joined in, my screen has frozen. Okay. Right. So this is week 3 for educational psychology, and I hope you've learned something from EDPS112E. And as we go along, make sure you make the connection between the two courses. But the only thing is make sure you know when you're doing your assignment, not to confuse the content that you're learning from EDPS112 with whatever content you're learning from EDPS111. So let's jump straight to what we're supposed to learn today. In this session, for each and every one of you, wherever you're listening from, we have about 8 goals that we need to achieve today. The first one is understanding this week's announcement and reminders. The second one is be familiar with formative assessment in the form of forum participation. The third one is review week 1 and week 2 topics. Number 4 is familiar with week 3 topic. Number 5 is a summary of major topic 1 and its subtopics. Number 6 is assignment 1 reminder and explanation. Number 7 is a few reminders of study skills, and also I will give time for you to ask your questions, or if you have any comments to raise in regards to your study, you're more than welcome to do so at the end. In between the presentation, I will ask for your participation, so please keep up, and if you have something to say, just indicate by a raise of hand or unmute yourself and share with us whatever you have. Shall we make a start? So this week, our reminders are, this is week 3 and you should already download your learning resources and post in the following forums. So you should already go to the introduction forum. You should already attend to forum 1 for subtopic educational psychology. You should also attend to forum 2 for subtopic B, the changing teaching profession. Forum 3 for subtopic C, informal, non-formal, and formal learning. May I remind you not to jump forums. I've seen someone who just joined in yesterday and this person did not introduce himself or herself, did not do forum 1, did not do forum 2, but went straight to forum 3. I will not mark work that they skip, so make sure that you keep up and follow from the beginning. Our second reminder is when we are communicating, when you're communicating either, for example, in Zoom right now, or when you are posting in the chat group, when you are inboxing in the Moodle Messenger, be mindful that you are going to be polite, you're going to be considerate when texting, and especially when you're calling over the weekend. I've had a few phone calls and texting commanding me, please, or go and do this for me right now. Okay, be mindful and know that the weekend, people have their lives as well. So even though when you want people to get things done for you, people are about it. And also saying excuses. I have no such thing as a network. There has been thunderstorm. Trust me, we are in Vanuatu and we know what's going on from north to south. And I know places that they will have network connections, places that they will have disconnections from time to time. But just don't lie to me because I know and I've been there. The other one is, the third one is read notices on Facebook Messenger chat group, and you must make sure you're checking your emails and also Moodle Messenger. Thanks to Mr. Lawi and Mr. Chakmatareki, the Moodle Messenger is really helping. So each time you log in into Moodle Messenger, make sure you see the little envelope on the top right-hand corner of your screen or your mobile phone. Click to open and read what are the notices for the week, or if someone has inboxed you for something that you need to attend to. So these are the things that maybe they're new to you, but you need to start familiarizing yourself with them. Our announcements for this week are, first one from admin, fees payment plan. For those of us who are self-sponsor, make sure that you have your payment plan, just like any other thing that we do, and you act on it. When you pay for your fees, for example, if it's only 5,000 or 7,000 or 10,000 batu, make sure that you send your receipt to the finance officer. Her email address is already in our chat group, or you can always ask us to send it to you. Number 2 is week 3 topic is already open as of 8 o'clock yesterday morning. So please attend to it and spend at least 2 hours each day to attend to your study. The third one is activity completion and restriction. The setting is applied to all tasks in Moodle so that we know when students are accessing and when they're not accessing. And I will show you in a few minutes what is happening. So please do work smart and be proactive. Let's get away from our culture of excuses that, oh, there's a problem with my laptop. If your laptop is crashing every week, I'm not sure what are you using. So if you're using a phone, you should already be grateful for and try to use it wisely. Number 4, network issues. I am going to give you an example of what the phone uses. 500 Fatu weekly plan or 600 Fatu weekly plan can allow you to access Moodle. It will allow you to download readings. It will also allow you to watch YouTube. Some people are complaining that there is no network in my school or the principal does not allow me to. This is your own professional development and upgrading, so make an effort from your own pocket to meet those instead of relying on the school to provide all of this for us all the time. The other one is make sure that if there's no network from your area, find other avenues. If people could pay for 7,000 transport to move just to an area to access Moodle, I think you and I in Shefa should not have any excuses for this type of commitment. Remember, what you're spending on, you will gain a qualification that will uplift your qualification in the future. Number 5, those who are still on neighbor status, yet on Moodle, but yet they're active in chat group. So I'm wondering, if you're active in chat group and yet you are not accessing Moodle, please inform us so we can assist you. Are you finding it hard to log in? Are you finding it hard to access the page, or you just don't know what to do? We are here for you. No one has ever died of asking for help. Even in the Easter story, as we all know, people who have called criminals, they hang on the cross and they ask Jesus to save them. He saved them in the last minute. That is asking for help. So what about you and I? Make sure that you ask help, and by yourself, don't send other people to ask help from us. If I can back and forth with someone out in the island just for the person to go into forum and post in the right place for almost like 20 to 30 minutes on one person, I can spend it with you as well. So let's put aside our pride and ask for help when we need help. Number 6, week 1 to 5 forums will all be restricted or locked in week 5. So you have this week. This is week 3, week 4, and week 5. All your forums that are due this week, make sure that you attend to them, because I have already activate completion and soon I will restrict them. So even if you are late after week 6 and you will try to log in, it will lock you out. And from number 7, please take note so that I won't keep repeating myself. From week 6 onwards to week 16, all learning resources forums will be on completion and restricted mode by end of each week. So be disciplined. For example, in week 6, if it's on Monday, I will open or activate the page. I expect that by end of week 6, you should already attend to your forum, because I will start locking it. Some other courses, they're already doing it, so it's only fair that I do it as well. But I am still flexible and allowing people who have not logged in yet to make sure that they do. So if you think that no, I am just going to roam around doing nothing in Moodle, bear in mind that Moodle have more buttons than ever. They trace each and everyone's activity. So, for example, just a few hours before we start our Zoom, I logged in and I got this report that you can see on the screen. My apologies to Miriam, Belinda, Elma, Neti, Evelyn, Silas, and Ben Makoya. I'm going to use you as an example. So everything that these people have done and the 99 others have done throughout this week is recorded. So if you have not yet downloaded the main reading, there is no tick. Main reading 1, main reading 2, the 6th APA reference, self-introduction forum, the calendar or schedule, the PowerPoint, the video, the weekly forum, and assignment 1. If you have not downloaded, it will indicate, as you can see on the screen, nothing. There's no tick on the box, so it's indicating that they either have done it or not yet. So it's the system recording. So far, there's two tick. So for Belinda, she has already downloaded assignment 1 detail, and also Nettie has already downloaded assignment 1 detail. So whatever activity you're doing, I only need to click for a report, and it will indicate for me each and every one of us. The second one, other ways of how to I know you have done or not done. My apologies, the screen is not really clear, but it will indicate on an Excel spreadsheet for 99 students, either it's complete or it's incomplete. And it will also state when it was completed as well. So I download the same record and turn it into an Excel, and this is what I get. Now, if I go specific, this is an example of Forum 1, Educational Psychology. So it indicated it has 99 participants. I only screenshot for a few, so it will give you an indication. So far we have Roslyn Joseph, it says no. So Roslyn has never viewed or seen what is Educational Psychology Forum. Alima, the answer is yes, she has gone to the forum twice. She has seen the post twice. Tony, yes, and it indicates 23 times. I'm not sure whether it was Tony has gone 23 times or it's indicating myself as well. Julia Wilpa, yes, once. Marian Walter, no. Giovanni Fortafiti, yes, 4 times. James Tony, yes, 18 times. Andrea Tokar, yes, 51 times. So whatever you're doing, don't think that you're hiding when you go to Moodle, because we can see exactly what you're doing, when and when. So if you have not downloaded anything yet, bear in mind that by next month, is this same date, next month, all things will be locked. And I'm not the one locking it, Moodle will lock you out. I hope we are clear about that. Okay, our next for this afternoon was Moodle forums, where to find them and their importance. Now, why am I still going through this? Because every day, and I'm not complaining, I'm just stating the fact that we need to do some reading and some instructions by ourselves. So in each Moodle page or sections in the Moodle, they have a forum. And as you can see, the icon, it's a blue green overlapping chat thing that you can actually relate to. So whenever you scroll or you go to each page, look for where the red arrow is pointing. Self-introduction is one for page 1, introduction page. When you go to the next page, which is educational psychology, you will also see as the same icon, except it will give a different heading. You will go on, move on to the next section with the changing profession, the same icon, different instruction. The third one should be the same icon, informal, formal, and non-formal. And the fourth one, as of yesterday, should be the same icon, but this time you have constructive alignment. So what you do when you go do this, do not be afraid to click. It will take you somewhere. If you're not seeing your friend's work, it means you're somewhere else. If you're seeing your friend's work already there, do not go and click on your friend's work. Go and click where it says add a new discussion. So when you add a new discussion, automatically a small Dropbox, an empty one, should appear for you. And that is where you either one, type straight your 2 paragraphs into it, or you can copy and paste your assignment into it. Be mindful when you're copying and pasting. Make sure that you press the space bar on your laptop or your computer, so it gives you a space inward, so that it does not cut off the first letters of the terms or the words that you have used. I hope we are clear about this. If you are not really clear, you can always go back to this video once we are done, and you can follow from there, or call me or message me. I think for the last 2 weeks, I've done this over for at least 20 or 30 people, and I'm still waiting to help others who want me to help them. On the other side, we're looking at the benefits of The benefits of attending forums. First one is it boosts your ICT skills. I'm not sure whether 90% of us have accessed Moodle before, but I'm taking it as a learning opportunity for all of us. So it is about helping ourselves. How do we type? How do we find different components of Moodle as we go along that they're part of ICT skills? The second one is it also allows us to interact with others socially and our communication skills in online learning. That we are part of a community. So when you're introducing yourself, you're not only communicating with your lecturer, but also with other students as well. And a classic example is the Zoom. Number 3, the student profile building or compiling. So for me, I'm interested to know, where are these 99 students situated or located? How old are they? How many years have they been teaching? So just like you, when you have your first week in the school, you want to know your students, where they come from, what is their background. So we're doing the same when we are asking you to introduce yourself in Moodle. The next one is you develop the skill of study reflection and demonstrate comprehension of content. When you attend to each forum, you are brushing off the task covering. How do you reflect on your own study? How well do you understand what is going on? The next one is your thinking styles and creativity development. I like people who come up with their own ideas. I admire those who are honest enough to say that, oh, before I wasn't doing this, but over the 2 weeks, I have learned something. That shows that you are reflecting on your learning, and also you come up with your own creativity instead of repeating the same thing you hear in Zoom or you have read somewhere. Next point is the tutor gets to know the level of understanding of each student in its topic. By the end of this week, when we complete constructive alignment, that should have cover major topic 1. So there has been 4 forums, 2 marks for each forum. So that's a total of 8 points, right? So I am going to total it up and say, okay, Yalima has probably 4 out of 8. How is she studying? Belinda has 6 out of 8. Okay, Gurun here, I might say Linton has 3 out of 8. But this is alarming. I need to do something about it. And I need to inform Linton about his study as well. So it's not just getting to see you posting there, but it's informing you and informing me as well that are these students really serious about the learning, and is this content pitched at the level that they can be able to understand. The next one is practicing academic reflection and policing writing skills. Okay, some of us, when we posting in our forums, we keep them very short. Now, imagine if you're going to do the same in your major assignment. You might take it as, oh, this is just to pass time and earn me 2 marks. Actually, I am getting you to polish up your writing skills. So make sure that you put a lot more effort on it. And also, what exactly are we going to look for as your lecturers when we mark your major assignment? So take it as the practice for you, even though they're only worth 2 marks, but they are allowing you or helping you to improve in your writing skills after a few years that we're returning back to studies. And the last point is UN assessment marks for the final grade in this course. As you may or may not notice, but this is an example of formative assessment. Since we are not conducting any face-to-face, your forum participation, not only does it help us to track you, but also for yourself to reflect on your learning. And as we go along, you will see that, yes, in the first and second week, my elaboration was just a few sentences, but right now I know how to write and how to think deeply about what I am learning about. So take it as an exercise that it's training you for your major assignments in 2 weeks' time. Our next slide is about recapping on major topic 1. So this time you can unmute yourself, and if you want to join in, please do so. So if anyone who is listening out there can tell us what is a major topic 1? Anyone willing to?
I'll try. Major topic 1 is about teaching and learning.
Yes. Anything else?
Education psychology.
Come again, Songi?
Educational psychology.
Major topic 1 is about teaching and learning process. Yes. Let's move on to our next question is if anyone has a clear explanation of what is educational psychology.
Mrs. Sergio will have, I have an answer.
Go ahead.
Educational psychology is the application of a teaching profession by means of communicating verbally or non-verbally in such a way to make a learner understand concepts clearly.
Okay, thank you. Any more definition of educational psychology? What did we learn in week 1 about educational psychology? Or only the Kawenu people were reading? The rest of us were just sleeping?
Okay, Annette wants to respond.
Go ahead, Annette.
Yes, educational psychology. I haven't got my notes with me, but as I can remember, it's the study about how study of the behavior of organisms, of people, or living things.
Thank you. But shall we move on to the next topic, which is the changing teaching profession? Let's hear from some other people in the group. There's about 40 of us, so just indicate if you wish to speak and we'll unmute you so you can share your response with us. The changing profession. Anyone? We're waiting for someone to give us a definition of the changing profession. Yalima? Yalima and your friends, you can go ahead and explain it to us.
Thank you.
Can I try?
Yes, go ahead.
Teaching is a teaching profession because it doesn't stay the same. Depends on the age of a child, whether he's a toddler or a person who is old. And it depends on how the learning differences of an individual child.
Sorry, who was explaining?
Pamela,
Were
sorry.
Were you explaining educational psychology or child adolescent?
Education as a teaching profession.
Okay.
A changing profession, sorry. I was explaining teaching as a changing profession, sorry.
Okay, just make sure you know exactly what you're discussing, because to me it sounds more like EDPS 111. Anyway, but thank you.
Hey, I'll try.
Alan?
Okay, thank you. To me, since the changing teaching provision, as it clearly mentioned in the topic, just saying changes that happen in the teaching provision. As in the olden days, teaching have shifted, and we all have gone through and experiences the changes that happened to different aspects of happening in the teaching profession. As we can name them like the infrastructures, the ITC, and the teaching methodologies, and whatever you can mention. So as the world is evolving, the teaching profession or the activities that contribute to the teaching profession also evolve. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Alan. One more try from somebody else.
Mrs. Sergio wants to give.
Go ahead,
Changes,
Pamela.
Changes in the educational learning system, which combines together the teaching approaches of teachers and the learning ability of students to acquire the knowledge in order to meet the learning outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, so we're hearing the changes from before and now. Shall we move on to informal, non-formal, and formal learning? If one can give us an explanation of the difference between the three. Central School team, Manua? For people out in the islands? Give it a try.
Good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead.
Can I try?
Go ahead.
Informal training is non-structured or never organized or planned. Non-formal is learning is planned or structured process with clear objectives, but does not take place in the classroom. Formal refers to the learning that is structured and planned, usually experienced by the learner in a school. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Daniel, right? Daniel still?
Yep. Yes.
Thank you for that. So since we are going to base on Daniel's definitions, can someone give us an example of informal learning? That's a classic example. Yes, Regina? An example of informal learning.
Manu School.
Yes.
Example of informal learning. Informal learning. Shall I give the example or definition? An example.
I just want an example of informal learning.
Okay, example of informal learning. Informal learning, example, learning or education that is taking place at home, at picnic or holidays, where there it's the learning there is non-structural.
Okay, so
Learning
you give
that
an
there
example. Learning at home, I mean a picnic.
Yes, picnic or holiday.
Okay. Selwyn, I've unmute you and your friend. I'm wondering why you're poking the, what's this? It's you who's supposed to unmute. Thank you, Evelyn, for the, an example of formal. An example of formal.
Can't hear.
What's happening? Who's talking?
Okay. Whoever is Galaxy, try to.
Galaxy J2. Galaxy J2, maybe you'll use two devices inside the one room. That's why you may have a makeup.
Yes, it's just too much static. Selwyn, do you still want to talk? You share your ideas? Unmute yourself. Selwyn, if you're hearing me, unmute yourself from your screen. Okay, go ahead. Kelson, can you unmute this guy? Selwyn?
Selwyn, okay.
Sheila and Lorna, right? Is Selwyn joining from a laptop or from mobile phone?
Selwyn, please try and talk. You unmute this stuff, so you have a talk, yeah.
We can see you, but we cannot hear what you're saying. Okay, you cannot hear us. You can hear us, but we cannot hear you. So I think the problem is from your end. But you can type your response onto the chat. Click on the chat and type your response. We can actually see. Shall we move on to someone else who want to give us an example of non-formal? So we can move on.
One example of non-formal is camping.
Camping, yes. Any more?
Can I give an example here?
Yes, Rachina, go ahead.
Thank you. Example of non-formal, eh?
Yes.
Can I say one small bag?
Yes.
We have workshops, school-based workshops, Sunday
School-based
school or
workshops and
youth conferences.
Yes, they are classic examples of non-formal. Thank you, Mrs. Sao. I'm not going to ask for formal because you all know what formal is. So I'm just looking for informal and non-formal. Mrs. Sao,
Thank you. Thank you. The example of informal at home is watching someone who is weaving a mat or basket.
Okay. Thank you for that. Shall we move on? Everyone can hear clearly. I'm not going to either say those were correct or not. We will go to the end and we will ratify whether they are okay or not. But I believe each and every one of us have seen my comments according to your post in the forums. Either I would say they're too short, or you need to correct your definition, or you need to correct your examples so that you do not mix the three processes of learning. They are learning processes, they're not education in general. So please stop saying education and learning. They're two different things. Learning is part of education. So don't bring the house into the bedroom. Okay? Do not generalize it. Just to give you an indication. So make sure that you're doing your reading for this. And the last one, constructive alignment. Has someone tapped in to look at what is constructive alignment? Let's hear from one before we move on. Native? Maybe it's okay. It's okay if you do not want to appear on the screen, but if you wish to share your response, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
I think I'll pass this one because I haven't been doing so much research in it.
Okay, thank you for admitting that. Anyone who has actually looked at constructive alignment? No. Yes.
Constructive alignment is a principle that is used to design learning experiences. There are three elements to that: outcome, assessment, and teaching experience. Sorry. Thank you.
Is this Thelma, right? Yes.
Yes.
I'm not sure. Okay, thank you so much for that. Right, let's move on. It's just, I am not trapping you. I'm just making sure that there is discussion, there is collaboration, and we are checking on each other's learning as we go along. So please, those of us who are not participating, feel free to jump in anytime. There is no max for this particular type of activity, but it allows you to communicate and also articulate in English as well. Right, moving on. Our topic for this week is constructive alignment theory, as you can see on your screen. Constructive alignment theory, what is it? Right, by the end of this session or by the end of this week, the learning outcomes for constructive alignment theory is: one, you should be able to explain the importance of constructive alignment. Two, you should be able to describe the principles of the constructive alignment. Three, you should be able to recognize the importance of constructive alignment in formal and informal learning. And the last one, you should be able to present ideas on constructive alignment theory with others. So, as we have already discussed earlier, that what does constructive alignment means to you as a practicing teacher? So as a practicing teacher, you should be able to understand what exactly is constructivism and what exactly is alignment. Right, I have tried to make us understand, if we have not looked at our readings and the video yet, there are two terms here, and why they're joined together is to come up with the theory. So what does constructive means? Constructive, there are several meanings, but I have chosen this meaning promoting improvement or development. Constructive is about promoting improvement or development to an already existing concept. So either the constructivism could be positive or it could be critic, but it's for improving something or for developing something. The next term is alignment. Alignment simply means an arrangement in a position of agreement. For instance, when we want our students to go out of class, we can either ask them to walk in a straight line or to form a circle or whatever it is. That is what an alignment is. So they either cooperate with us and form whatever shape or arrangement we ask them to. So for this, in alignment, when we are aligning items, we know that one of them, they could be either 2 items, they could be 3, they could be more. But what we're looking for is that no importance is placed over another. Each one of them have equal importance and they rely on each other to function. Hence, we have constructive alignment process. We can also look at this in the outside term. For example, our government is a coalition government, so we can call it an alignment between different political parties. We have an alignment with our spouses despite our differences. So when we come to constructive alignment process, I have given an example in a pyramid or a triangle. Think of it as an equilateral triangle that you're seeing from your screen. One side, both sides of the base are not different from the other side. So they pair equal. So if we remove one of them, it will no longer be an equilateral triangle. So in constructive alignment, everything aligned for the betterment. Let's move on to see why should they be aligned this way. As someone has stated earlier, and constructive alignment is a model that was first devised by John Biggs in 1999 and came into existence in 2003. And he said it represents a marriage or bond between constructivism understanding the nature of learning and align designed for outcome-based teaching and learning. A classic example of how to visit this is our current new curriculum. Biggs in 2003, he defines constructive alignment as a coherence between assessment, teaching strategies, and intended learning outcomes in an educational program. If you want to read more, you can always go to Mark Mahon and Thackeray, 2006. So according to Biggs 1999, a good teaching system aligns teaching methods and assessment to the learning activities stated in the learning outcomes so that all aspects of the system are in accord in the supporting appropriate student learning. So we call it a constructive alignment because it is based on the twin principles of constructivism in learning and also in teaching or pedagogies. So alignment of the 3 elements. The first one is the intended learning outcome. What we in primary, we call indicators in the syllabus. Our teaching and learning activities, what exactly are we aligning? And the third one is assessment. So when we look at our indicators, we ask ourselves, what should students know or be able to do as a result of the course in your math subject or in your language subject, living in our communities? Those sorts of things, those are the things that we should be asking ourselves when we're looking at the intended learning outcomes. What activities are we think they are appropriate for students in order to develop the desired competency? If we want students to read, what type of activities are we going to allow them to develop the skill of reading? And then when we come to our assessment, whether we're conducting formative assessment or summative assessment, we should ask ourselves, how can students demonstrate that they have acquired the desired levels of competency? If you're teaching reading skills, how do you assess the skills in order to achieve the learning outcome and know that the child can actually read or they still need help with their reading skills? So this diagram is just to help us that you can either use it in a circular format or in a rectangular format or in a triangular format. So the diagram of constructive alignment for the teaching and learning activities, that it's about what teachers want to achieve, or we can also allow the children to design for themselves, for example, in a marking criteria or in a checklist. What do we expect the students to achieve? And also they are controlled so that we know what exactly how and what we want to achieve in its level. The learning outcomes, mostly they are expressed as verbs that students have to enact or can do. Verbs chosen to reflect levels. For instance, we say explain, identify, recognize, but we not necessarily use verbs like know, because know only exists in our head. And to what extent does it happen that we know the deep level of know? It's not really visible. So that is why we do not use the verb know when we're looking at learning outcomes. Our assessment task should do two things: evaluate how well the learning has been achieved, and also the outcomes have been demonstrated and achieved as well. Now, the third one here, we're looking at the constructive alignment model when we think about the syllabus or we think about the curriculum. The curriculum is the whole program from year 1 to year 6 for us primary, or up to year 8 for basic education. The syllabus is a specific one that you have in your class. So the intended learning outcomes of the curriculum are for us to give us an idea of what exactly do I want to teach. The assessment regime give us a freedom of what exactly are we going to do when we are talking about assessment, and the teaching methods and the type of activities. So the two, when you look at the bottom of the screen, learning and teaching activities, they are designed to meet the intended learning outcome, and the assessment methods, they are designed to assess intended learning outcomes. So in short, constructive alignment in practice, whichever way we look at it, when you get a textbook or a teacher card and you look at the intended learning outcomes, you look at the example of assessment task, and you start thinking about, how am I going to teach this? How am I going to assess this? So in the learning outcomes, students will be able to, for example, 1, summarize the main principles of main modern theories of translation. In our assessment task, we want them to perform demonstration. We want them, the students should be able to demonstrate the ability to summarize the main principles of modern theories of translation. In our teaching and learning activities, this is a guided practice or guided teaching. We engage students in a resource-based activity of summarizing the main principles of modern theories of translation. Bringing it to our course or our program, excuse me. My screen is freezing, if you can still hear me. Okay, so if you can still see my screen, this is an example of constructive alignment in practice. How do we use it? So if you recall to slide probably number 10 in my presentation, I have shown you the specific learning outcome for this particular topic, constructive alignment. So specific learning outcomes, you may already have here, or I can always repeat: explain the importance of constructive alignment, describe the principles of constructive alignment, recognize the importance of constructive alignment in formal and informal learning. And the fourth one is to present ideas in constructive alignment theory with others. Now, what teaching and learning activities are we going to engage in? We're doing online delivery via Moodle, which is student-centered. And I am explaining it via Moodle or Zoom. I also provide you with readings and video for students to attend to and make notes. So that is the teaching and learning activities part of it. The assessment part of it is in week 3, subtopic D, forum discussion and presentation. I brought in 2 of the specific learning outcomes, explain the importance of constructive alignment, and present ideas in constructive alignment theory with others. So your task is to, in 2 short paragraphs, do the following. Explain the theory of constructive alignment and its importance to teaching and learning, and give examples of how you carry out alignment process in your teaching. So this is an example in constructive alignment for this course. But for you, when you're teaching, you're doing it every day in your lesson planning. For instance, you may pick a strand, a sub-strand, and a specific indicator that you wish to teach, and you design your learning activities according to it. Do not forget that as from today onwards, as you come into contact with assessment task, you should try at least 3 or 4 times a week, have assessment task in each of your learning activities, so that it helps you that whether the students are learning and whether you are achieving your learning outcomes as well. So constructive alignment in practice is not really something new for us practicing teachers. It's something that we use every day in our teaching practices. Right. So there are 2 types of constructive alignment, or 2 aspects of it. Is the constructive aspects refers to the idea that students are given opportunities to construct their own learning through the relevant learning activities. It's not something that the teacher will tell the students all the time to create, but you give them an opportunity. So you become a catalyst or the facilitator. So the students take charge of what they're doing. And the other thing is that if students are to learn desired outcomes in a reasonable, effective manner, then the teacher's fundamental task is to get students to engage in learning activities that are likely to result in the achieving those outcomes. And it is also helpful to remember that what the students does is actually more important in determining what is learned than what the teacher does. So our role in constructive alignment become a facilitator more than a teacher who's giving instruction or giving activities all the time. They need to be given opportunities to construct learning on their own. So why is it called an alignment? As we have already learned that an alignment is simply a connection. So the alignment aspects refers to what the student do, and it's to set up a learning environment that supports the learning activities appropriate to achieving the desired learning outcomes. And the key is that the components in the teaching system, especially the teaching methods used and the assessment task, are aligned with the learning activities assumed in the intended outcome. So in this way, the students, in a sense, they are trapped and find it difficult to escape without learning what he or she is intended to learn. So when you think of the constructive alignment as a triangle, if you really want students to progress, it means they're in the center. So you have your learning outcomes for a particular grade level or particular subject area. Then you have your teaching methods. Then you have your learning activities, and you have your assessment task. Students will know when we are trying to be unfair. For example, you did not teach a particular topic, but then the topic appear in an exam or in an assessment task. So that is telling us that our alignment is wrong. Or you have not made the indicator visible to them, or you tell them that in this lesson, this is what we are going to achieve. So the more they know about the learning outcomes, they know your expectation, your teaching will align as well. We cannot be talking about the sea while we're only looking at the picture all the time, right? What else can we do beside that? Maybe we can always take a trip to the sea, or we can do something that will align the activities. For instance, if we put metal things in seawater, what will happen to them compared to the normal tap water? Now, the danger of what is not constructive alignment. In PIC's article 1999, he stated that some things may not make sense when, for example, the learning outcomes are not articulated. Articulated means they're not made known to students. The teacher-centered approach is always used all the time. The assessment methods that promote service learning. We are only interested in making assessments so that we can report the outcome, but we do not use the assessment results to inform us to change our teaching or to change our teaching learning activities. So if we are not relating the indicators to our students, that is not constructive alignment. If we are not using student-centered approach, that is not constructive alignment. And if our assessment methods are not promoting learning, then something else is wrong. For instance, if you're only using true and false or filling in the gaps in language instead of asking them to write an essay or something, a narrative, that is not constructive alignment. All three must make sure that they match all the time. The learning outcome, our teaching method, and activities, and also the assessment methods that we are using. What is the significance of constructive alignment in teaching and learning? Learners construct meaning from what they are learning. This concept derives from cognitive psychology, constructivism, and it also recognizes the importance of linking new material to concepts and experience in the learner's memory and extrapolation to possible future scenarios via the abstraction of basic principles through reflection. This is quite a mouthful, but in short, what is this meaning? When we allow students to construct meaning or learning on their own in the classroom, they should be able to apply the same knowledge and new learning in an outside sense. For instance, if you are teaching the formula of finding a perimeter and you have just purchased a plot of land or you're going to make a new garden, you can always ask your child to tell you, can you estimate for us what is the length in meters for our garden area or a new plot of land? Or what do you think the perimeter will be? This is what the landowner has told us about. Can you calculate the area? This sort of thing will allow students to make sense that, yes, I'm not only learning about the perimeter of a square or rectangle in the classroom, but I can also apply this knowledge to new experiences outside the classroom as well. The next one is the conclusion of constructive alignment. So as we can see, constructive alignment draws on the coherence or the alignment between assessment, teaching strategies, and intended learning outcomes, and it starts with the intended learning outcomes. So when we are looking at topics at the beginning of its new week, for instance, next week you will be going back to face-to-face teaching. Where are you going to start your teaching? Are you going to start looking at the activities? Are you going to start looking at the assessment? Are you going to looking at your teaching styles? And the intended learning outcomes informs the type of assessment to be given to students, and this assessment informs the teaching and the learning activities. Okay, you can tell yourself that the students, they may have been away for basically 2 months. Where am I going to start? You need to start a diagnostic test, right? In your reading or in your writing or in your maths lesson, whatever, that make sure that they are aligned with your learning outcomes. And the last one is make sure that collaboration between teachers and students aim at achieving the intended learning outcomes designed at the beginning of the process. Don't just assume that because Mary has been away for 2 months, she cannot recall what we have learned in science or in living in our communities. It is our job to make sure that the intended learning outcomes, the teaching methods that we wish to use, learning activities must promote student-centered, and the assessment we design at the end should be what we hope that the child has achieved something and the intended learning outcomes has been achieved. So, bring us to the end of constructive alignment. If you want to look for the reference, you can always look for Biggs J 2003 aligning teaching for constructive learning in higher academic, but we can always adjust it to suit learning in our primary level. So constructive alignment brings us to the end of major topic 1. And because I did not really butt in when you were giving your own summary of the 4 subtopics, I will now do so just to help you make sure that you know the difference between the 4 and what we are looking at. So how do teachers teach and how do students learn? It's in major topic 1, teaching and learning processes. When we are teaching, make sure that we are reflecting on our own practices in order to improve. For instance, before the lockdown, what was your teaching like? After the lockdown, how are you going to get your students back on track? Okay, do not blame the poor parents because they were not trained to teach. They are parents. They're not trained teachers. So whatever your child or your student come with next week back to your classroom, accept them as they are and adjust your teaching and learning to suit. You will have eager students coming back. You will have students who do not want to see your face. You will have students who pretend to be sick. Just make sure that you adjust to suit them. Our subtopic 1 was education and psychology. Everybody has their own definition, but it's simply about the study of how people learn and attain information when we give information to them. Some people are quick, some people are slow, some people are moderate. Whatever it is about how people learn and they attain information. And also, why is it important for us teachers to know this? So that it provides us information on how do we give our instructions to the classroom. It should help you next week as you go back to class. The second one is about the teaching changing profession. In education and particularly teaching and learning, changes happen that impact on our teaching methods. We have resources, for example, now we have ICT coming to enhance our teaching and learning. We have professional developments that you go to and also the one that you are engaged in right now. And we have multi-source of knowledge as well. We're not the only one with the blackboard, the whiteboard, textbooks, but students can also access other sources of information and knowledge they teach them as well. And let's not forget that we have a diversity of learners. We have those who are normal, average child, those who come with special needs, those who are exceptional. We have those that come from different social background. How do we cater for all this in our classrooms? And last but not least, I would like to challenge you with a question. How do you as a practitioner adapt to suit these new changes? Are we willing to embrace these new changes and we change our teaching practices? Or we just being resistant and we go with what we think is best? Also, can we learn from our fellow teachers? Can we learn from other people around us? Even can we learn from our students as well? So all this is not only about looking at other people, but looking at our own practices as well. For instance, for some of us, I do not want to go to Zoom. I do not want to press this, whatever. Changes are happening. And it's up to us whether we want to embrace it and make use of them, or we go with our old self. Number 3, informal, non-formal, and formal aspects, formal learning. All these 3 can be used to allow students to learn at all times and develop in all aspects of life. In our examples, we say that formal learning only happens in the classroom. We said non-formal learning only happens outside the classroom, and informal learning only happens in real life. I'd like to show you two different images of how these three can be used. So a summary of informal, non-formal, and formal learning. On our left side, formal. It is usually at school. It can be repressive. Repressive means you control. The individual learner does not have the freedom to decide what to learn. It is structured. It is usually pre-arranged. The motivation is typically more extrinsic. Okay, it is the parent's desire for the child to go to school. It is the teacher's desire for the child to learn whatever subject area. We give them grades, for example, 9 out of 10, 8 to motivate them. It is compulsory, it is teacher-led, and the learning is evaluated, and it is sequential. You move on from topic A to topic B. You move on from kindy to class 1 up to year 6. In non-formal, it could be either at an institution out of school. It is usually supportive. It is structured, usually pre-arranged as well. They call it to attend it. Excuse me. Motivation may be intrinsic, but it is typically more intrinsic. It means the desire to learn whatever it is mostly comes from within you. You wish to be there. You wish to study. That's why you are here. Or you wish to join the club. That's why you go on and join the youth camp. Okay? So it's your own motivation. No one is forcing you unless it's your parents. Then it becomes extrinsic as well. It is usually compared to formal, it is not compulsory. It is usually voluntarily. It may be guide or teacher-led. Learning is usually not evaluated. So by the end of the workshop, you're not given an exam. Okay, maybe you're given a certificate of participation. Typically, it can be non-sequential as well. So there is no part 2 of whatever workshop that you've gone to. And the third one, in informal, it is everywhere. And I read somewhere that it says it is natural. Okay, the learning just happened by itself. It is everywhere, it is supportive, it is unstructured, it is spontaneous. Okay, it's like you snap your finger and the learning has already happened. Motivation is mainly intrinsic. For example, someone said that you can learn basket weaving just by looking at the moms doing it. Okay, you decide. I can be watching, but it is my desire to learn how to weave. So I will go and sit with the mamas and learn how to weave. Or I can go and sit with someone who will teach me how to play an instrument. Or I will join a soccer club because I wish to participate in a soccer game. The other one is it's voluntarily, usually learner led. It means the learner decide to go and learn. Learning is not evaluated and it is non-sequential, but it's a lifetime thing. On the other side, in terms of qualification, formal education, the location is in educational institutions, and by the end, you have a qualification or a certificate of attainment. In informal education, the locations is in everyday life, or it can be in a group, there is no qualification. In informal education, the location is extracurricular training, and there is no certification as well. So that is the difference between informal, non-formal, and formal learning. And just so to correct, some people are putting homeschool package and homework as non-formal. Actually, they are formal because you structured the learning. The parent is just the guide. Okay, so those are still examples of formal learning. But if you're conducting a non-formal learning in your class, the example could be teaching your students a skit, or they are practicing for assembly by themselves, or you are preparing for music night. Those are non-formal activities. The Informal learning thing also happens in the classroom when a child on their own choose. For example, you say, okay, these are crayons and these are paper skin. You just have a free throwing period. So they have the freedom to throw whatever they like. So it becomes a learner-centered thing. Also, the child decides what they want to throw, how they're going to color, whatever, and it's happening right in front of you. So what I'm trying to say here is all three can happen at the same time, anywhere you decided to happen. And especially right under our nose in the classroom. You can blend formal, non-formal, and informal learning to happen all the time. And it is important for us to recognize this because some skills that the parents are not teaching their child, you as the second parent, the teacher, can actually teach the child to do under your care before you pass on the child to the next class. Moving back to constructive alignment that we have just moved away with, there is few things that I would just like to remind us of is we need to identify teaching methods and learning activities that suit particular learning outcomes and design assessment tasks that reflect high levels of learning occurring. For instance, we already have teachers guide that gives us, let's say you just copy into the board or you just photocopy and give to students. Is there any good learning activities that we can design by ourselves instead of just relying on the teacher's guide? Okay, or what can we actually allow so that students who are too smart for those activities in the teacher's guide can actually continue to learn better? There's a note here to remind ourselves that we need to know the difference between teaching a syllabus, teaching a learner to attain the learning outcomes through aligning the important elements in teaching and learning. Some of us, we're just following guide and we want to achieve them. Those are what we call you're teaching a syllabus. Some of us, we really want the child to learn, so we cannot move on until we have achieved that particular learning outcome. So how am I doing this? As your tutor, that is why I'm locking and restricting access to new forums after week 5, so that I can trace whether you're actually learning something before you're moving on. So what can you do in your class as well? Are you teaching a syllabus or are you teaching a human being to attain all this? This is what constructive alignment is about. And it shows whether we are passionate about the work or we're just teaching to pass the time. Right. I am reminding ourselves we have actually covered our content for this week, but I'd like to bring in a few things as well. And one of them is assignment 1 explanation again. For those of us who did not join in our Zoom last week, this is what we covered. Our assignment 1, which is reflective essay, it's due in week 5, Friday the 13th of May. So you have at least 2 weeks from now to start working on your assignment. It is a total of 50 marks and it will weigh 25% of your assessment grade. Now, when you're doing your assignment, there are 2 things that you should think about. Plagiarism is a series of events, and make sure you're writing the ABA 6 referencing style, and do likewise when you're writing or posting. Also, when you are writing, make sure that when you are editing your work, go and download the marking criteria that is already attached in your assessment assignment details. Read carefully to make sure that you're meeting the criteria by aligning it with what you have written. Now, basically, by the end of this week, all the 4 content that you need to write your assignment 1 has been covered, which is educational psychology, the changing profession, informal, non-formal, and formal learning, as well as alignment. You are supposed to reflect on each of them and you examine, you discuss, and you give examples of how you apply or implement them in your classroom teaching. So when you're writing after your introduction paragraph, the 4 points that you should consider is you define, describe, and reflect on each one of those 4 subtopics. What implications do the theory have on teaching and learning? How do they assist in teaching and learning? What are the practical implications for each one of them? How would you contextualize these aspects covered in the subtopics in your practice in Vanuatu? Right, our second last or our last topic for this afternoon is a study skill. The first one is about time management. I will continuously remind you about how you manage your time. Like I said in our first Zoom, we have 24 hours in a day. We have 8 hours of sleeping, 8 hours to carry out our paid job, teaching and learning in the classroom, and we have 8 hours remaining. You subtract 2 to your learning, your studies, and the other 4 should be spent with your family or doing other things. The next point is learn how to work smart. Here, I'd like to remind us ourselves, get one task done at a time. If you decided you're only going to read, make sure that you're only reading, writing. If you're teaching to be proactive, be proactive is the first of the 7 habits of highly effective people, and you take charge of whatever task that you are given. Can you do? Are you going to blame me? Are you going to blame the school? And let's give less excuses. That's macro skills that we need in all aspects of. So just like you look at your language and communication guides in your classroom, there are 5 macro skills that we wish to develop. And let's not forget that it's not only for students, but for ourselves as well as learners. Viewing what you can see and how you make sense of it. For example, in our post, in our Facebook chat group, when we post, people will always ask, what does she mean? Or what is this person asking for? You are viewing, so try to make sense of what you're seeing. If someone put a namela leaf and you're seeing it, you try to make sense of why are they putting namela leaf here in this particular area. Listening. For as teachers or as students, we need to seek to understand and make sense of what we are hearing before we respond. Instead of just wanting to respond all the time, we must seek to understand. Number 3, speaking. I would like to encourage you to start thinking in English and speak in English and make sure that people will understand what you aim to communicate across. Are you asking a question? Are you giving an instruction? Are you commanding? Are you greeting other people? Are you commenting positively or negatively, or are you seeking for information? Number 4 is reading. What are your reading styles and how do you benefit from them to achieve your goals? And number 5, at the university level, how will your writing improve and gain a passing grade? So moving on to reading 1, I would like to share with you a few reading strategies, and one of them is purposeful reading. What exactly are you looking for? If I decide to read for, let's say 30 minutes to 1 hour or 2 hours, what am I looking for in my reading? Okay, am I looking for perspectives, identification of the writer's position, evaluation of the writers, or am I looking for reading to help me make sense of the topic? So our reading should be The purpose of reading is to help us to read faster and more selective, and also help us to concentrate and improve our ability to remember. Reading strategy number 2 is scanning. Scanning is reading quickly to search for specific information. You may not realize it, but when we are scanning, it allows us to read at least 1,500 words per minute. So you're just looking for specific information. One reason to scan an academic text is that you have found is while researching is to locate key terms as a means to assess the text relevance. Is this helpful to me, or am I going to bypass this? So that is what scan reading is about. Number 3 is skimming. Skimming is reading quickly to gain a general idea. For example, I may read an abstract of an article to give me an idea of what is this article about. Okay, so sometimes skim reading can happen with titles, with subheadings, words that are in bold or in italics or underline, or I can even read the skim diagrams, an abstract like I've just said, or an introduction, or just a conclusion to give me an idea of what is this text about. Also, the first sentence of every paragraph, chapter questions or chapter objectives, and chapter summaries. The last one in reading skills, information words. When we are reading, try to find what are the words that are standing up when we are looking for information. So we are doing service reading. It is worth remembering that 50% of the words that you find in a text, they're just information words, so they're like clue that they hold words together. For example, the articles, the position words. So those are the things that will help us to quickly pick out that, yes, this is what I'm looking for. The next skill that I would like to comment on this afternoon is the writing skills. Ask yourself when you want to write, what genre or text type is required? Is it an explanation? Is it a narrative? Is it a procedure? So while we are teaching our students the different genres of text type, we should also know the difference and when we should apply them. What are the terms and language structures required in this genre? Okay. What type of grammar is required? Have I done enough searching for referencing requirements and citing according to the 6 ABA style? So those are the questions that we should be asking ourselves in an academic. You are enrolled in a university level course, so it means your level of writing and especially reading should improve and upgrade as well. I'm going to point out an example of what are we looking for. So how will I structure each point in an essay, in a writing or in an essay? Now, since we are practicing using paragraphs, when you're writing a paragraph, you should start off with a topic sentence, and then you give an explanation sentence, and then you give an example sentence. You can cite a quote or you support with a reference sentence, and then you give a concluding sentence for the paragraph. So I create an acronym for a paragraph, TEECC. Topic sentence, you have an explanation sentence, you have an example sentence, you have a citation, and you also have a concluding sentence. Each institution will vary their styles and expectation. For example, USB have use sex. It's not what you're thinking, it simply means the statement sentence or the topic sentence. The E stands for explanation, the X is for example, and the S is for summary. So whichever one you wish to use, make sure that when you're writing your paragraph in your upcoming post in forums, you can use this structure to help you, because this is what we expect when we see your writing in 2 weeks' time. And also do not forget to edit your work and use the marking criteria. Editing your work means you're looking for mistakes and also the arrangements of how you structure your thoughts or ideas and points. when you are writing. That brings us to the end of our presentation. If you have any questions or comments, please do so. Yeah. Any questions? Unmute yourself. Yes, Thelma.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris, for the nice presentation that you presented to us this afternoon. I have one question regarding the assignment. On the note that you've given out, where it says not this PowerPoint, but the ones that have been given out, reflective essay assignment 1. This one on the introduction, it says, can you just elaborate on the theories, background, and historical information? Thank you. Can you hear? Sorry.
Can you hear me? Kalsin? Kalsin?
Mrs. Morris, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. My sincere apology. I have to jump from a laptop back to my mobile phone for about 5 seconds or 5 minutes. So you guys still hearing me? Can you?
Yes, now yeah, yes.
Crystal
clear.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Thelma, can you repeat your question again? Sorry.
Okay. My question is regarding the assignment. On the introduction, there are 4 points there. What the reflective essay will cover, definition of the major topic and subtopic, and the third one is the theories, background or historical information. Can you elaborate on that? What do you mean by that?
When you are explaining, for example, there will be more than one paragraph, so do not jump. So let's say in your first paragraph will be your introduction. You introduce to talk about what exactly are you going to elaborate on. So this is a reflective essay, but this essay will tell you it's going to present the following point. Okay. So when you go to, let's say, your first point is about educational psychology. So before you jump straight to explain educational psychology, say something about who was set the background. That is what it's about. Okay. So who talk about educational psychology and what is it about? So it could be about 3 to 4, 5 sentences, just briefly talking about the background, and then you reflect on what did you learn from it, and then you move on to the next subtopic, teaching, fencing profession. You do the same thing, then you move on to what was the third one? The 3 processes of learning, and then you move on to constructive alignment. So each time you explain the background, you set the scene. What do you know about them? How do you reflect on them? How are you using them in your own teaching practice? I do not want to see in Vanuatu teachers use. No, you are not 1,000 teachers. You just use them. Okay? Answer your query, Thelma?
Yes, thank you very much for the clarification.
So I hope the others have the same query, and I believe it's helping them as well. Any more question? Are you following?
Yes.
Yes, Alan? Alan, I can hear your dog, but I cannot hear you.
Okay, thank you. Once more, thanks, Ms. Morris, for the nice presentation. And and I've just part in the Zoom meeting. Firstly, thank you for the nice and clear presentation. Secondly, a short and simple question. Maybe others have the answer, but I'm kindly asking you. At the second last slide that you have something about citation support, and if I'm correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard that you mentioned that in the forum, citation or supporting my argument or my discussion, is it a must that I must always getting coach or supporting my discussion with other people's ideas, or
okay.
Not?
When we are giving, it's not compulsory. Okay. Thank you. It's a very good question, Alan, and thank you for raising on behalf of everyone. In a good academic writing, we cannot just argue without supporting that this person has already established some ideas. So it's best to always, as advised, that it's good to always have a citation or a reference. For some of us, maybe the word is new. Citation simply means you are quoting other people's thoughts on that idea. For example, this afternoon, as you can see, I am using Big's 1999 thoughts, but I acknowledge it by making reference to him. So that's a citation. I'm not just saying those things. So if you're going to give an example of informal learning in our place, in our context, but make sure that you quote something from an established writer. So it's best to use quotes to support your ideas. And it also shows that you are researching and you are doing deep reading instead of just getting the ones that we are giving you. Answer your question, Alan?
Thank you very much.
It is a good question.
Very clear.
And
okay, nice afternoon, everyone.
any more? Good afternoon. Thank you for joining. Any more? Hello, we still have people around? One last question.
No more question from Kawenu team. Thank you very much.
Okay, right. If we have no more question, I will, on behalf of myself and Mr. Lawi, thank you for joining week 3's Zoom. We will upload this Zoom link into week 3, and also I will share the slide in the week 3. So expect as of tomorrow, when you go to download the week 3 learning resources, you will also find the slide for this week and also the Zoom link for this week. So you can always go to at your own time to at least download and listen to it in your own time. When you're not sure, you can always go to and learn something out of it, or you share with people that they're not in our group as well. But otherwise, thank you all from Torpa to Shefa and probably some from Tafe that I have not welcomed you this afternoon, but thank you for being patient. Since, when was it, 1 o'clock up until now? Was it 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock that you joined in?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock. Thank you for your patience and make sure you thank your spouses for allowing you to be up until almost 5:30 now. But I know it is worthwhile on the long run. And please continue to work on your assignment in your forums and don't forget to enjoy the rest of the week as well. Feel free to go off anytime unless you still have something pressing to ask. I will still be here until I see everybody log off.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Mrs. April and Mr. Lawi. We will
Thank
be
you,
leaving
Mrs.
now.
Morris and Mr. Lawi.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Phil.
Good
Goodbye.
afternoon. Bye.
Bye, Sheila.
Bye.
Bye, Sonia.
Bye.
All right.
Bye-bye. Songi. Songi.
Hey.
Songi, hello, good night. Bisa labas, ya belum Klaus.
Good night, Mama.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris, for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris. Nice presentation.
Welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Morris, for the presentation. Good afternoon.
Welcome. Good
See you
afternoon to you.
tomorrow, I think.
Next week. Next
Oh,
week.
next week. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Longy, good night.
Okay, students, I think you can leave the Zoom now. Just click on leave the Zoom. Caroline, click leave the Zoom, leave the meeting. Can you?
Wait.